Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
Welcome to the Disney Days Planning Podcast. This podcast is information about Walt Disney World, which is organized by topic. I'm your host, Alyssa Salveson. Hello, welcome to the Disney Days Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa, and this is episode 9, all about transportation. As I mentioned before in previous episodes, there are a variety of ways to get around Walt Disney World. It is incredibly vast, spreading 47 square miles, so getting from one part to the other is something of concern for many guests, but luckily Disney has provided a lot of different complementary transportation options. And in addition, there are other transportation options that can help you get from point A to point B within Walt Disney World. The different modes of transportation within Walt Disney World are buses, monorails, there's water transportation or, boats, a skyliner, you can drive. There are walking paths, a minivan spelled like Minnie Mouse, and then there's other rideshare options as well, Uber, Lyft, taxi. While you're in Disney World, if you ever find yourself in a bind, you can go to the My Disney Experience app and tap Get Directions in there, or you can also always ask a cast member and they'll assist you in helping you get from one place to the other if you're at all confused or spun around. The most direct route may involve a combination of transportation options. It may involve a combination of bus, monorail, boat, or walking. So be aware of that as well. The first mode of transportation I'm going to talk about is the bus system. Anywhere when you're out driving around in Disney World, you definitely will see a handful of Walt Disney World buses. They are well decorated. We see ones that are the main Disney characters, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Pluto. We've seen a Remy bus, Aladdin bus, Orange Bird bus. They come in all different decorations and they're really fun to see on the road. So you can take a bus to and from almost anywhere on Walt Disney World property. It is certainly the most expansive form of Disney transportation which is provided. Disney buses are air conditioned, so it's a nice reprieve from the Florida heat. Buses go from every Walt Disney World resort to all theme parks and Disney Springs. For golf and mini golf, you can take a bus to the resort it's closest to, and to the water parks. I'll explain how you get to them, but you have to transfer to get to the water parks for most resorts. The buses start running 45 minutes before the opening of wherever you're going. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom, the buses to Magic Kingdom will start running 45 minutes before opening, and that includes early entry. And they stop running 1 hour after close, and I believe that also includes extended hours. You must collapse your stroller on a Walt Disney World bus. So, parents of toddlers, please know this. Unless, of course, your stroller acts as a wheelchair. The buses are handicap accessible. There are limited seating for the accessibility seats. There's 2 or 3 maybe in a bus. So do be aware of that. But if your stroller is a wheelchair, then you can wheel it on, but everybody else has to collapse their stroller. Oftentimes, buses will make multiple stops, so know that as well. Sometimes your stop isn't the first one, it might be the next stop or things like that. The Magic Kingdom bus stop is by the entrance to Magic Kingdom for Walt Disney World resorts. But if you're staying at the Swan, the Dolphin, or Shades of Green, the bus to Magic Kingdom goes to Ticket and Transportation Center. So you'll get off the bus there and then have to get on another form of transportation to the Magic Kingdom. I'll describe that a little bit more as well. So Ticket and Transportation Center is the parking lot basically for Magic Kingdom. At Ticket and Transportation Center, you go through security. You can purchase tickets there too, or if you have a ticket issue, you can handle that right there, Ticket and Transportation Center. And then so you head through security. Once you're through security, then you can either take a monorail or a boat to Magic Kingdom. You can take a monorail to Epcot, and you could also just walk to the Polynesian. But anyway, so that bus, the ones from Swan, Dolphin, and Shades of Green, drop you at Ticket and Transportation Center. So know if you're staying there and taking a bus to Magic Kingdom, you're taking it to Ticket and Transportation Center, and then you'll need to get on another form of transportation to Magic Kingdom. You can take a bus from Magic Kingdom to Hollywood Studios or Animal Kingdom or Disney Springs. You take a bus from Hollywood Studios to Animal Kingdom or Magic Kingdom. You take a bus from Animal Kingdom to all the other theme parks. And from Epcot, you take the bus just to Animal Kingdom. You would take the monorail to Magic Kingdom from Epcot, which I'll talk about later. Or you could walk or take the Skyliner or a boat to Hollywood Studios. To get to the water parks via bus, for Blizzard Beach, which by the way, as of recording date, it is currently closed for refurbishment. But when it opens back up, to get to Blizzard Beach, you would take a bus to Animal Kingdom and then you transfer there to go to Blizzard Beach. Also, the All-Star Resorts, All-Star Sports, All-Star Music, All-Star Movies, they have a direct bus to Blizzard Beach, and so does Coronado Springs. So if you're staying at any of those All-Stars or Coronado Springs, you can take a direct bus to Blizzard Beach. Now, that bus begins 30 minutes before opening and ends an hour after closing. To get to Typhoon Lagoon, the other water park, you would take the bus to Disney Springs and then transfer from there. That bus begins 45 minutes before opening and closes 1 hour after closing. The next form of transportation, which I mentioned before, is the monorail. There are 2 different routes for the monorail, and there are 3 different tracks on the monorail. There are 2 tracks to the Magic Kingdom, and that is from Ticket and Transportation Center, which I was talking about before. One is an express track. It goes right from Ticket and Transportation Center, or as we fondly refer to it as TTC. So you can go straight from TTC to Magic Kingdom and vice versa. That's the express route. Or there's a resorts monorail. So that goes from Ticket and Transportation Center to the Polynesian Village, to the Grand Floridian, to Magic Kingdom, to the Contemporary Resort, and back to Ticket and Transportation Center. So if you were interested in doing a monorail crawl, you'd park at Ticket and Transportation Center and you'd get on the monorail, and don't get on the express one. You're going to want to get on the resort monorail loop or track. The other option, the other route that is there at Ticket and Transportation Center is a monorail to Epcot. So again, if you were at Magic Kingdom and wanted to hop to Epcot, what you would do is you would take the express monorail from Magic Kingdom to Ticket and Transportation Center and then cross over and get on the monorail to Epcot. You don't need to collapse your stroller on the monorail, but you will need to lift it over a lip. So I have a triple stroller, and that is quite difficult sometimes. I do often need assistance in lifting up my triple stroller onto the monorail. It does online, if you look up, which I've linked in the show notes, I've linked the link to the transportation. If you look online, it does say you need to collapse your stroller on the monorail, but from my experience, that is not true anymore. It is subject to change. During COVID, that was the case, and that's why I never took the monorail and always took the ferry boat, because you did not have to collapse the stroller on the ferry boat versus the monorail. So I guess that's subject to change, but I have never collapsed my stroller on the monorail, even though online it does say that. So the other interesting fact, I guess what I would say about Ticket and Transportation Center and the monorail or the ferry boat, which I'll talk about as well. If you're taking a ride share, if you're getting an Uber or Lyft, or someone's dropping you off, they're going to drop you off. All those things I mentioned, they're going to drop you off at Ticket and Transportation Center, just like those other buses I talked about before. And once you're at Ticket and Transportation Center, then again, you'll have to make your decision on how you'd like to get over to Magic Kingdom. There is one exception to a ride share, and that is the minivan, and I will talk about that at the end. Minivans will take you right to the gates of Magic Kingdom, but that is a special situation. Any other, if you're just getting a Uber, Lyft, or taxi, they're taking you to Ticket and Transportation Center. It's not that bad, but just know that there's a whole nother leg to your journey. So you need to know that to plan your timing. Okay, the next form of transportation that is available is water transportation or boats. They run continuously, typically every 15 to 30 minutes. The hours of operation, though, on a boat are subject to change, or subject to the weather conditions, certainly. If there's lightning in the air, I think it's within a mile or whatever, they know the how close it has to be, they won't run. So the water transportation can be a little bit tricky and things can change. Also on the boats, no luggage or alcohol of any type is permitted on the watercrafts. All strollers, too, they say must be folded and stowed out of the aisle, but I have also rolled my stroller on a water taxi before. So I'm going to talk to you about the different forms of boat. From the Magic Kingdom area, there's the ferry boat, which goes, I talked about briefly, it goes from Ticket and Transportation Center to the Magic Kingdom. There are two boats, ferry boats that run most of the time, and they're great. I love it. That's actually my preferred method of getting to Magic Kingdom from Ticket and Transportation is the ferry boat. Now, the other way you can get around in the Magic Kingdom area are through water taxi. They're smaller boat, not a big ferry boat, something smaller. That's accessible by water launch, and this is in Seven Seas Lagoon and Bay Lake, which is not super important, but Seven Seas Lagoon is by Magic Kingdom and the monorail resorts. Bay Lake is by Contemporary and then Fort Wilderness and Wilderness Lodge. So the water launches are at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground, Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, Disney's Polynesian Villas and Bungalows, and Disney's Wilderness Lodge. So, again, that means you can take a water taxi from any of those resorts I just listed to Magic Kingdom. So, you can get to Magic Kingdom from Grand Floridian by monorail, but you can also get to it by water taxi. That's what that means. You also can take water taxis from these resorts to each other within Bay Lake. And that's Disney's Contemporary Resort, Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground, and Disney's Wilderness Lodge. So you can take the boat to each of those resorts from them. You can take the boat from Contemporary to Wilderness Lodge or the campground. Next, in the Epcot area, you can take some boats as well. These are friendship boats, and you can take them from Disney's Boardwalk Villas, Disney's Beach Club Villas, Disney's Yacht Club Resort, Walt Disney World Dolphin Hotel, and Walt Disney World Swan Hotel. So from those resorts, you can get a friendship boat over to Epcot and Disney's Hollywood Studios as well. They're very close together. Epcot and Hollywood Studios are in proximity, very close to one another. Now, if you wanted to play mini golf, that Fantasia mini golf, you would go to the Dolphin and walk to mini golf there from that boat. But again, that's just from Epcot and Hollywood Studios. You can also take a boat to Disney Springs. Disney Springs is accessible via the Sassagoula River Cruise from the following locations: Disney's Old Key West Resort, Disney's Saratoga Springs Resort and Spa, Disney's Port Orleans Resort Riverside, and Disney's Port Orleans French Quarter. And then, like I said before, Hollywood Studios and Epcot are connected via boat as well. So you can take a friendship boat from Epcot to Hollywood Studios. So that's your waterway, how you can get around via water transportation. The next form of transportation we're going to talk about is the Skyliner. The Skyliner are gondolas. In one of my episodes, I was trying to think of the word and I said ski lift. I was blanking on the word gondola. The gondola was the word I was looking for. They're gondolas and they connect Disney's Hollywood Studios and the International Gateway at Epcot, and then also to the following Disney hotels, which I'll I'll describe. But the international gateway of Epcot is not the main entrance is by the Epcot Ball. International Gateway is the opposite side. It's in between France and the United Kingdom when you're looking through the countries, and there's an entrance over there. So that's where on that end of Epcot is where the International Gateway is. Okay, so from Hollywood Studios or Epcot's International Gateway, you can get to Disney's Art of Animation Resort, Disney's Caribbean Beach Resort, which is a hub. I'll talk about that in a second. Disney's Pop Century Resort, and Disney's Riviera Resort. The Disney Skyliner station at International Gateway at Epcot is located just a stroll away from Disney's Boardwalk Inn, the Boardwalk District with all the entertainment. So that houses the Boardwalk Inn, Yacht Club, and Beach Club. So from those resorts, you can also access Hollywood Studios via Skyliner. You would walk right to Epcot because it's the same entrance. But you can get to any of those resorts I talked about before or Hollywood Studios via the Skyliner from those resorts as well. To get from Epcot to Hollywood Studios, you'd get on the Skyliner at Epcot, go through the Riviera, so you wouldn't get off. There's a stop at Riviera, but you would stay on. But then the next stop is Caribbean Beach. So then you're all going to get off at Caribbean Beach. Everyone's going to get off at Caribbean Beach because this is a hub. So, and one leg of the hub goes to the Riviera and Epcot, which is where you just came from. Another leg goes to Hollywood Studios. So that's what you would do. You transfer there to Hollywood Studios. But another leg of the Caribbean Beach Hub is going to the rest of the resorts, which is Pop Century and Art of Animation. Okay? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different stops on the Skyliner, but at Crib you'd have to like switch in a lot of cases. You wouldn't need to switch going from Hollywood Studios to Caribbean Beach. That's direct. You wouldn't need to switch going from Epcot to Riviera or vice versa. That's direct. You also wouldn't need to switch going from Riviera to Caribbean Beach. And you also wouldn't need to switch going from Caribbean Beach to Art of Animation or Pop Century. But if you're trying to get anywhere else, you have to do another leg of the journey. The Skyliner's hours, they usually open up 1 hour before early entry begins at Epcot or Hollywood Studios. And they close 90 minutes after Epcot or Hollywood Studio closes. But the nights where Epcot offers extended evening hours, the Skyliner will close 1 hour after the park closes for extended evening hours, but it will only offer transportation to Disney's Riviera Resort from Epcot. The route that goes to Caribbean Beach or Pop Century and Art of Animation, that's going to be unavailable because those resorts are not eligible for extended evening hours. So the only route you could take is to Riviera, and then that would be it at those extended evening hours. Okay? So strollers on the Skyliner, I've heard mixed results from. I used to, again, in the COVID era, take the Skyliner because I was told you didn't have to collapse your stroller on it. However, if you have a double stroller, and I don't know if it's side by side double, I wonder if a tandem double stroller you'd have to. I'm not sure. If you have a single stroller, like an umbrella stroller or something like that, you can get on the Skyliner with the stroller without having to collapse it. But if you have certainly if you have a side by side, you have to collapse it. So this is really important for parents to know because if you have a sleeping child, that means you have to have a parent take the sleeping child out of the stroller and another parent collapse the stroller, and then you somehow safely get everybody and everything onto the Skyliner. I find this very important for you to know before, especially parents of stroller aged children, to know before going to Walt Disney World so you are prepared. Okay, next we're going to talk about driving and parking. You can also drive. This is how I do Disney. I drive for the most part. I rarely use Disney transportation from a resort. I usually am driving and parking. So you can drive and park anywhere as well. That's also true if you're staying off site and rent a car, or if you're even staying on site and have a car. Again, you can drive and park. Theme park parking is $30 a day. However, you only have to pay it once. So if you're hopping, you only pay the $30 one time. You'd pay it at the first place you go, and then you just keep, your receipt in the window when you go, when you're hopping. But it is $30 a day to park for standard parking. Preferred parking is more. Annual pass holders do get free standard parking. So these are the places you can park. At Magic Kingdom, you'll park at Ticket and Transportation Center. At Epcot, they have their own parking lot. Animal Kingdom has its own parking lot, and Hollywood Studios has its own parking lot as well. In each of those theme park parking lots, including the Ticket and Transportation Center one, there are trams. So if you're parked really far away, you can hop on a tram, and the tram will take you up closer to the gate of the theme park from your faraway parking spot. The negative to the tram for us parents of young kids is you will need to collapse your stroller to get on that tram. But the tram is available, and I actually rode it for the first, I was like by myself and I rode it. I rode it my last trip when I went solo to Animal Kingdom. It was like fun saving the steps. The parking lots are all designated in some way. Sometimes, like for Magic Kingdom, there's heroes and villains, and then there's numbers as well. So be sure to take a look at where you parked. Remember the character and the number that you're parked in. Conveniently, in the My Disney Experience app, there's a car locator, and it'll, if you have your like location on, which I do recommend doing in Walt Disney World, the app works, has many more features when you have that on, but it can sense where you are. Just double check that it's accurate and you can save it. And then if you forget where you park, you can look in your app and it's already saved. Text it to somebody so you don't forget where you parked, because that's the worst when it's late and you're so tired and your feet are killing you and you don't remember where you parked and you're sitting there hitting the alarm on your keys and everybody's alarms are going off and you're so aggravated and so frustrated. It's happened many times. So please learn from me and remember, take a picture of it, text it to somebody, or use the car locator in your app so you remember where you parked. Okay, you can also park at ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex. General parking is free, or you can valet for a fee. Any golf course, you can park it as well, and there's no fee to park there. Fantasia Gardens Mini Golf, same thing. The water parks too have complimentary parking. And the resort parking currently is complimentary. There was a time you had to pay to park at a resort, but right now, overnight guests, it is complimentary. You could valet for $42 plus tax. But currently, if you're a resort guest or if you're a day guest just going to visit a resort, the parking is complimentary. Okay, so that's your parking situation. Next, we're going to talk about walking paths. If you listened to our resort overview and you heard my grouchy dad segment, Paul said, the best way to get from place to place is walking. And he says, second is Uber or Lyft. And I guess I agree with him. So you can walk some places, even though Walt Disney World is so huge, you can't walk everywhere, but there are some resorts that you can walk to theme parks or to Disney Springs. And I'm going to talk about all that now. The beach, the yacht club, the boardwalk, Disney Swan, Dolphin, and Swan Reserve, all of that. You can walk to Epcot and you can walk to Hollywood Studios. And you can walk to each of those. And the Fantasia Mini Golf is at the Swan Reserve. So you can walk to all that as well. So that's a great area. And Paul said in the last segment, and I agreed with him, I think that's one of the most desirable places to stay in those Epcot area resorts because there's so much you can walk to. Magic Kingdom. You can walk to Magic Kingdom from the Contemporary Resort, from the Grand Floridian Resort, and also from the Polynesian Resort, even though that is a lengthy walk. You'll have to walk through the Grand Floridian to get to Magic Kingdom, but you can walk to Magic Kingdom from those three monorail resorts. So again, I also said this in my last episode. I also love the monorail resorts because there are three modes of transportations to Magic Kingdom. You can walk, you can take the monorail, or you can take a boat. And I think that is incredibly valuable. Disney Springs, you can walk to Disney Springs from a lot of places as well. The Disney World Resort you can walk to Disney Springs from is Saratoga Springs. But then there's a bunch of resorts there that are like kind of friends of Disney resorts, and they're Springs area resorts. The DoubleTree Suites by Hilton Orlando, Drury Plaza Hotel, Orlando Lake Buena Vista, the Hilton Orlando Buena Vista Palace, the Hilton Orlando Lake Buena Vista, the Holiday Inn Orlando, the Renaissance Orlando Resort and Spa, the Wyndham Garden Lake Buena Vista, and the Wyndham Lake Buena Vista. All of those resorts you can walk to Disney Springs to as well. You can walk from Caribbean Beach Resort to the Riviera, or you can take the Skyliner, but you could also walk. You can walk through the parking lots to each of the all-star resorts. They're all very close to one another, and you could walk from one to the other, all-star movies, music, and sports. You can walk from Pop Century to Art of Animation, and then you can walk to each of the Bonnet Creek resorts from one another. And the Bonnet Creek resorts are the JW Marriott Orlando Bonnet Creek Resort and Spa, the Signia by Hilton Orlando Bonnet Creek, the Waldorf Astoria Orlando, the Wyndham Grand Orlando Resort, Bonnet Creek. Okay, the next options I'm going to say, the last three, mostly are not free. They are mostly a paid service. So the next I'm going to talk about is the minivan. The minivan is operated by Lyft, and it's spelled, Minnie is spelled like Minnie Mouse, Minnie. The vans are decorated in Minnie Mouse's iconic polka dots. They're red with white polka dots all over them. They are operated by an actual Walt Disney cast member, which is interesting. They are associated with Walt Disney World. And so I was mentioning before, you can get right up to the gate on Magic Kingdom. Minivan, again, has a contract. It's operated by Walt Disney cast members, so they can get you closer than Uber or Lyft, general Uber or Lyft. Minivan is operated through your Lyft app. So you'd open the Lyft app, and if you're within Walt Disney World property, minivan will be an option for you to select. Only within Walt Disney World property, though. And minivan goes, again, anywhere within Walt Disney World property, and that includes, yes, any Walt Disney World Resort collection, the Four Seasons, the Shades of Green, the Swan, the Dolphin, the Swan Reserve. It operates in all those different places. You can request an accessible van, and they also can have up to two child seats in the minivans. They're lovely, but again, you are going to pay for it. You also can do taxis and rideshare. You can do regular Uber and Lyft or taxi from place to place. You actually can take a complimentary taxi to golf. You check with your concierge at the hotel, and you can request a ride with bell services or the valet desk, or at the golf to get back. You can request one from the pro shop or any of the golf operations staff members. You can go to Magnolia Palm Golf Course, Oak Trail Golf Course, and Lake Buena Vista Golf Course, all via complimentary taxi. Next, I'm going to talk about airport transportation, and I'm briefly going to list because none of it is free. None of it is complimentary. You'd have to do your own research and see what's best for your trip and your family or your travel party. You can do a Mears bus. I've linked in the show notes the Mears Connect website, so you can just click it and go and do your own research. Good thing to know though is Mears buses do often make multiple stops. So if you're just trying to get to where you're going, doing a bus like that might not be the best fit for you. You can also do Uber or Lyft. That's how I've either rented a car or Ubered to the resorts when I've gone. Or you can rent a car. It's quite easy. You can rent a car through a million different, things. You can do it through Costco. You can rent a car through each individual website, however you want to do it. So what we have is gold status with Hertz. So you don't have to check in the airport or outside. There's the check-in to rent a car outside too. We can check in right from our phone and hop in a car. The only rule to that is we have to use the same credit card when we make the reservation as when we check out. It just needs to be the same credit card. But it's super easy and very quick. I feel like it's always complicated when you have to wait inside and rent a car that way. But it was easy to get the gold status through Hertz. So that can be an option too. We find it very easy and very, very fast. Okay, and that is your transportation episode. I hope you learned something new. Please be sure to check the show notes for any additional links. I will attach a Skyliner map so you can see that, a link to the general transportation page where I got a lot of this information from, and also I'll link mirrors, and actually I'll link Hertz too, so you guys can check that out. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you real soon. Thank you so much for listening to the Disney Days Planning Podcast. See you real soon.